Welcome or welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about some advanced tips and tricks for pivot tables. I already have a video on pivot tables, but this one takes it a step further. So right now I have a data set here of book sales year to date. We have the salespeople, the states that they sold in, the first, second, third, and fourth quarter sales, any discounts that were given, and the year to date sales. So that's what we're going to use for these scenarios. Number one, to change the default view of the pivot table fields. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Insert, Pivot Table from Range, and Microsoft Excel automatically picks the range for you. We're going to click OK because we're going to put it on a new worksheet. And here we have the pivot table fields, and this is the default view of the pivot table fields. Now to change that, you will go to Tools, and you can go to Field Section and Area Section side by side. And this gives you your filters, your rows, columns, and values side by side. You can also go to Tools, and you can sort by A to Z. And then you can also sort in the data source order. Number two, changing the values in your pivot table. Let's say, for instance, you want to find out what each salesperson did year to date, and you also want to see the percentage of the total. So let's create that. Insert, Pivot Table, new worksheet. Since we want to buy salesperson, we're going to put the salesperson down in a row, get our year-to-date sales, put that in the values, change from count to sum, take out our blanks if you have any, clean this up a little bit. So here we have the year-to-date sales by salesperson. We can sort this by largest to smallest. Now in order to get the percentage by total, we're going to take our year-to-date sales, we're going to add it again. And we're going to right-click, Show Value As, Percentage of Grand Total. And there you have it, the percentage of total. Creating a top 10 filter in a pivot table. So we have all this data here, and we want to know what are the top 10 selling states for the year. So we're going to create our pivot table. Insert, Pivot Table in a new worksheet. We're going to include our state in the rows, our year-to-date sales as the values. I'm going to change that to sum. And we're going to get rid of any blanks if we have any. So now, if we go to the row label and we click on the drop-down list, there's an option here for value filters. Now, if you see at the bottom, there's top 10 here. You can get the top 10. You can even get the bottom 10 if you want. And it doesn't have to be 10. It can be 15, 20. We're going to keep it at 10. And we're going to do the sum of the year-to-date sales. So we're going to hit OK. And as you can see, the filter changed. And it gives us our top 10. Now what I noticed is that we have this row here that says blank. That's because our pivot table is picking up the totals row. So in order to get rid of that, we can go to the pivot table Analyze, change data source, and move it up to row 50. Hit OK, go back to our pivot table, and as you can see, now the total is gone, the blank is gone, and there we have our top 10. Changing the data source of our pivot table. Right now we have this pivot table and it's pulling from our Sales Year-to-Date tab. Say for instance we have the prior year-to-date sales tab and we want to insert that into this pivot table. What we would do is we would go to Pivot Table Analyze, change data source, and this is our current data source, which is the sales year to date. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on prior sales year to date. Control Shift, arrow right, arrow down. Hit OK. And now the sales year to date from the prior year is now in our pivot table. And it's sorted by the top 10. And that's how you change the data source of your pivot table. Creating multiple reports from a pivot table. So we have all this data here, and we want to have a report by salesperson and see what each salesperson did by state and by year to date. So right now, we have all of these salespeople here, and we're going to create a report for each one of them with just one click. So we're going to cancel here. We're going to go Pivot Table Analyze, go to Options, Show Report Filter Pages, and we want it by salesperson. We want all of our reports by each salesperson, so we're going to click OK, and the pivot table is going to create a report for you for each of the salesperson. And there it is. Adding data bars to your pivot table. If you want your pivot table to look more visually appealing, there's a way to do that. So we're going to go into our pivot table, go to Conditional Formatting, we're going to go to Data Bars, and we're going to go to More Rules. And instead of staying with the option of selected cells, we're going to click all cells showing sum of year-to-date sales value, which is this column right here. We can format all cells based on their values, format only cells containing. We're going to stick with this one, cells based on their values. We're going to say we want a data bar. We can choose different styles if we want, but we're going to only show the bar only. And we can pick what color we want. Let's say we want this green right here, and we're going to click OK. Now, as you can see, your pivot table has now turned to data bars. And have no fear, if you wanted to have your numeric numbers back, you would just take your year-to-date sales, drag it back into the values box, and there you have it. Creating a pivot chart from your pivot table. Well, I think I'm going to change the data here. Instead of doing it by state, I'm going to do it by salesperson because it's just more manageable. So we're going to get rid of the state. We're going to put the salesperson in the row. And we're going to create a pivot chart from this data here. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight the information that we want. We're going to go to Insert, Pivot Chart. And here, Excel gives us options of charts that we can use. We can go to pie. We got column, area, bar, line. We're just going to stick with, what should we do? Should we do a pie? Yeah, let's do a pie. And we're going to click OK, and there it is. Now what you can do from here is you can modify this chart. So you're going to right click here, and we're going to go down to Format Chart Area. And here we have the option of formatting the chart. Chart title, the legend, the plot area. So there you have it. Some quick advanced tips and tricks for pivot tables. And if you're enjoying the information that we're providing, please give us a thumbs up, a like, and a share, and subscribe. We're going to continue growing this channel and make sure that everyone learn Excel on their pace. So, as we like to say, keep learning, never give up, and never get comfortable. Until next time.